30 years ago this summer, the first book I read about Scientology was Jon Atack's Essential History of the Church, A Piece of Blue Sky. I remember it being a surreal experience. As insane as L. Ron Hubbard and his creation obviously were, Atack's deeply researched and calm telling of the story only made the barely believable truth of his tale that much more indelible. But even though that book provided a firm grasp on how Hubbard created such a mind-bending movement that nearly 40 years after his death remains dedicated to him as the only source of truth, it still left a great question unanswered. Why? Why did Hubbard create Dianetics and then Scientology? What was Hubbard really getting at with his millions of words, thousands of bizarre policies, and his enslaving practices that are still scripture for thousands of people today? Once again, it is Jon Atack who has put on his spelunking gear to dive deep into the dark recesses of occult history that informed Hubbard's worldview, and the result is simply astonishing. In his new book, If Scientology Ruled the World, Nazi Occultists, Sex Magic, Space Aliens, and the Second Coming, Atack begins with an alarming premise. What would this world be like if Scientology actually achieved its stated aims and cleared the planet Earth and became its ruling class? In order to answer that question, ATAC takes us on a mesmerizing journey over a couple of centuries, following rivers of demented thought that meandered through various dubious human movements to show how misguided misinterpretations of contemporary science, mixed liberally with prejudice and fear, developed in strange and alarming ways. Madame Blavatsky was a key conduit for much of the nonsense, of course, as was her acolyte Aleister Crowley. But ATAC goes beyond these familiar figures to show how their ideas were inherited and carried away by other, less well-known synthesizers and crackpots of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The stunning result? ATAC's thoroughly researched chapters take us inexorably to the conclusion that the same basic ideas about race, domination, and pursuit of godlike powers came to inform both Hubbard and his bizarre space-age church, but also the Aryan-obsessed fever dreams of Heinrich Himmler and his boss, Adolf Hitler. The parallel with the Nazis is not a facile one. Atack's exegesis of Himmler's neo-pagan quasi-religion is stunning in its depth, and his comparisons to Hubbard's own obsessions are beyond dispute. You will finish this book with a new understanding of Scientology and its true aims. And once again, it is Jon Atack's calm, deeply researched prose that delivers this nearly incredible conclusion. Tony Ortega, New York.